Your My name is Flo. This is my first video for you guys, so please stop DMing me and telling me to make videos. It's time. So, as you can tell by the caption, this video is going to be about finding your tribe. So, a lot of people ask me, how do you find people that are spiritually aware? How do you find people that you're meant to be around? And this is something that I definitely dealt with heavily when I first started kind of practicing and meeting people in the New York City art community, building with people. And it can be very difficult. It can be very weird trying to wade and to see who feels right, where to belong. So let's jump right into it. I would say the first step is to not be a martyr. Everybody has those friends that they've had for like forever, people that have known them through their transitions, people they spent a lot of time with that might not fully understand the things you're going through, the things that you're dealing with, especially for a lot of you who are kind of developing your psychic abilities. There are going to be people who don't want to hear shit about crystals. There are going to be people who don't want to hear shit about you feeling like plants are talking to you. People who will kind of use every excuse to make you feel like you're crazy, mostly because they don't understand what's going on or they can't relate, you know? So definitely pay attention to how your body feels when you're around these people. It doesn't mean throw away the whole friend group, of course, but if there are certain people that you're around where there's no more, you don't feel the vibration of love anymore, you don't feel the appreciation, your skin starts to feel prickly and cold, or, you know, they'll say something and it'll just feel weird to you, you don't need to really spend time with those people. It's completely okay to say, I'd rather spend some time alone, or hey, I'm kind of busy right now, I don't really feel like hanging out, or just flat out saying this isn't going to work for me anymore, you know? Really depends on your style of fading out, whether you want to just fade out quietly or just say, hey, this doesn't really feel like it's working for me anymore. I feel like we're growing apart and I feel like we're doing different things. So I wish you the best. I'm gonna do me kind of thing. So another thing that I definitely took part in when I was a little younger was complaining about the fact that nobody understands you. That kind of just puts into the universe more and more that you do not feel like you will ever meet anyone like you. Something we all have to learn, none of us are fucking special snowflakes. None of us. There's no one on this planet that has ever had an experience, or that is not going to have an experience that you are experiencing. We all experience the same things, but with different triggers, right? So constantly complaining that there's no one like you, or that you were born in the wrong generation, or whatever the fuck, just furthers you from feeling comfortable, from feeling safe. So instead of putting it out there that there's no one like you, or that nobody understands you, spend more time alone. Spend more time asking yourself, okay, well, what do I want in a friend? What do I want to become? What kind of friend do I want to be? Knowing what I like, knowing what I'm interested in, where are spaces that I can go where I will meet people who are like me. Even just putting it out into the universe, hey, I want to meet people with the traits X, Y, and Z. I want to meet people who are like me. Some of y'all gonna have to be careful with that. I want to meet people who are like me shit, because you might not like you if you meet you. That's a whole other thing, so we'll get into that too. Not playing the what if scenarios in your head about you know, what if this person said this to me? Or what if we got into an argument about that? Spending less time focusing on the nots and the what you don't have, and spending more time putting in what you do want, right? So another thing, get ready to be alone, right? It sounds kind of counterintuitive, but spending time alone is the best way to know yourself, the best way to understand yourself. And if you are in situations where you do have to be around people, or obviously you're still going to want to hang out with certain people, noticing the recurring themes in the people that you spend time with. Everybody has their thing. Everybody has that one thing that they're always doing, always talking about, always embodying. Every person is a cycle. Every person is a lesson in that way. So the same way that people are always usually doing the same actions over and over kind of shows you what lesson they are. So for example, if you're around one friend that is constantly talking about their ex-boyfriend, is constantly talking about a relationship that is no longer going to work, always comparing people to this person, that person is a manifestation of that sadness. That person is a manifestation of kind of living in the past. If you have a relationship with an ex that you keep thinking about and you encounter a person like that, this might be the universe telling me, hey, let me not go back into that anymore. Let me kind of let this go. And then you might notice you coincidentally let that person go. because they were lessened, right? So again, get ready to be alone. Being alone is the best way to get in tune with yourself and see what lessons you're projecting, see what things you are creating as a cycle for yourself. Once you kind of get to take that space to be alone, you get to see your own trauma and how that plays out in your interactions with other people, right? So when you do kind of take that space to be alone, nobody can really fuck with you. Nobody can take advantage of you because you know yourself. You know who you are. You know why you do certain things. You know when you need to apologize for certain things, because if people are calling you out on it, you can't deny it, right? If it's true. And in most cases, it won't even have to get to that point, because you can kind of pull yourself in before you say anything. And you're like, okay, I was about to act on this aspect of myself. Is this the aspect that needs to be expressed? Is there a different way to express how I feel? Or is this something that I just need to deal with within myself, right? So set a schedule of time where you can kind of just spend meditating, spend being at peace with yourselves, spend time asking yourself the deep questions about things that you're experiencing regularly, right? Giving yourself the space to do that, giving yourself the space to speak to your spirit guides, build that form of communication with them before you really go to anybody else, right? I feel like a lot of the time in spiritual communities, people are always looking for a guru or looking for that person that is just so in tune and so aware, and it's like, no, bitch, that's Instagram. Like, that's what Instagram will make you think. But it's important to really be in touch with your guides. So doing things like meditating regularly. There's no way of getting around that. You have to put in the work, spend that time by yourself. Working with stones like amethyst, working with stones like clear quartz. After a certain amount of time, I would say selenite. Selenite can be very intense for certain people to work with at first because it is a very high vibrational energy. But always amethyst, always onyx as well for protection and grounding for those of you who are too like, woo, and are kind of trying to figure out how to work with your senses at first, right? So taking that time to really just listen, open up, and when you see the signs or like when you see synchronicities happening, synchronicities are basically events that happen. Whew, I guess that was really true. Excuse me. But I don't give a fuck, so don't excuse me. Events that kind of happen rapidly in the same way, like numbers like 1111, 333, especially when you're having a thought in unison with that and you see that happening. It's a good sign, right? So paying attention to the way your guides speak to you. A great way to notice or know if you are going to be aligned with a person is when you think about something repetitively. You're thinking about the same thing. And then you get a conversation with this person and they're saying the same thing you were thinking, or having, you know, just people that you're in sync with, people that, you know, you can think of and they'll call you. That's usually someone you're meant to be around, right? So keeping that in mind when you're having that alone time, definitely. Yeah, so that alone time basically anchors you in understanding your own vibration and knowing what your vibration feels like, and kind of building this like awareness of self that prevents you from being manipulated, right? So when you kind of do inevitably get into more spaces where you're meeting more people that you're aligned with, meeting more people that are on the path or whatever spiritual path they may be on, paying attention to how your body feels around these people. So for those of you who are clairsentient, which means you get spiritual downloads and spiritual signs from your guides and from other people through your body, i.e. gut feelings. Sometimes you'll be around people and you get a headache, or sometimes someone else is having a pain in some part of their body and you feel it. That's clairsentience. So pay attention to how your body feels around people. If there's a person that, without a doubt, every time you see them you get a fucking stomach ache, that person is not for you, right? Even if there are a million people like, oh, I love this person. I've always been the person like, that bitch is fake. If everybody is crowding around a specific person and they don't feel good to you, that person is not for you. Might not necessarily mean that that person is fake, but it can also just mean that that person's vibration is not fucking with your vibration. It could also mean that their spirits are not getting along with your spirits. So it could be a lot of different things, but always pay attention to your intuition, right? Another thing that I like to observe is not letting anybody touch me if they don't feel right. I'm not obligated to hug anyone. I'm not obligated to touch anyone. Specifically, do not touch my hair. Little thing that happens in the spiritual community a lot. People will try to touch your hair to read what spirits work with you. You know, I've had people casually touch my hair and just be like, oh, you feel like a mermaid. Do you have Yamaya? How did you guess that? You know, just like, wow, did you not just like pull from my head? Like, so it's kind of just like people will do a lot of things to get into your space and see what they can find out about you instead of just asking or acknowledging that that's not information that everybody wants to share outwardly. So a lot of the time, I remember when I was a little younger, I would go into communities, and luckily I had someone who guided me in kind of navigating and letting people know, hey, this isn't something I'm comfortable with. Please don't touch my crystals. Don't touch me in this way. And setting that boundary. There are a lot of people who go into places like this who are kind of just like, yeah, this is fun. Let's make friends, and end up being really dry at the end of it. Sometimes you can interact with people that just have a really interesting energy and are just fascinating, and then at the end of the interaction you feel tired. This can usually mean that this person is very good at pulling energy. Some people do it intentionally, some people don't. I tend to realize that people who have very strong Scorpio energy tend to have a very pulling effect on others, right? So there are some people who are aware of this, some people who aren't, some people who also have abandonment issues tend to do the same thing. And people can do this just through touching you, just through looking at you for a certain period of time. Everybody's different, and it does sound kind of crazy, but once you experience it, you'll definitely understand. So kind of just paying attention to how your body feels when you interact with people. If it doesn't feel right, you don't have to be around anyone. What I like to do when I enter a space is I'll just observe. I see what feels right, I feel where the energy is fluctuating towards, and I kind of just see what feels right to me. Another thing that I really enjoy doing in my practice to keep myself spiritually grounded is working with black crystals. So onyx, absolute favorite. Onyx is a type of crystal that will quell anxiety, that will protect you and keep you in check. So there have been multiple moments in my life where I'm just freaking out. I'm having an anxiety attack. I feel, like I don't feel grounded. I'll grab my onyx crystal and my onyx is like, yo, so this is what the fuck is going on. That thought that you're having is not true. You feeling this is not true. This person might not be good for you to be around right now. Sit down, drink some water, and just hold me. 10 minutes later, I'm chilling. I'm good. I'm dancing. I'm out here. You would never know I just had an anxiety attack. The power of Mother Earth, you feel me? All right, so working with crystals that are grounding. Also amethyst, again, amethyst is one of the best crystals for beginners. Amethyst is just a great crystal all fucking round because it's great for the 6th and 7th chakra. It's spiritually protective, so in terms of psychic attack, in terms of just opening those facilities or faculties in your brain, wonderful. So it kind of just keeps you chill, wonderful for busting anxiety. Whew, my first crystal, and it was just like a purple cloud all the time. Shout out to Prince. But literally just fluid awareness. It doesn't even have to be a fear aspect. It doesn't have to be an aspect where you're constantly wondering if people are going to like you or want to interact with you. It's kind of just an alignment stone. You're always exactly where you need to be, right? So another thing that is really important, which might be one of the most difficult things to do, is accept people for who the fuck they are. Accept people for exactly where they are. I remember personally, I used to do this thing where if something wouldn't feel right to me or someone wouldn't feel right to me, I would kind of just ignore my guides and continue interacting more than I should, more than was helpful or healthy for me. And I would know, you know, this person does this person does that, this person makes me feel tired every time I interact with them. But, oh no, they dealt with this when they were younger. Or, you know, this person hurt them that way, so they act like that sometimes. Okay, bitch, and, like, what the fuck does that mean? That doesn't mean you have to stay and continue to put yourself in harm's way. By all means, if that's something that you feel like you, in your heart and in your mission, need to do, okay, you're gonna do that shit, but really, you don't need to do that. A lot of the time, your lesson is to skedaddle the fuck out of there, right? So don't expect everyone to be the biggest lesson. Don't expect everyone to have to teach you that lesson. Sometimes the lesson is walking away from the lesson. Sometimes the lesson is not teaching someone how to be kumbaya and love themselves. No, bitch. You don't always have to do that. You can't save nobody, right? You can't come into somebody's life and And if you do that, that's fine. That's fine. But also know that you're risking the fact that, one, you're going to be exhausted. Your energy is going to be drained. You can end up having your energy field clogged. You know, sometimes if someone has a jinx or a hex on them, or is just grusa, which basically means they've accumulated a lot of harmful energies and they're just fucked up. Like, they can be bumping into a lot of things, they can get into a lot of accidents, just shit happening to them that should not be happening to them. If you spend a lot of time with that person, that can rub off on you and you can get sick. A lot of shit can happen. So just knowing your body is always telling you what to do. If you continue to fuck around and dabble in that energy, that's likely what you're going to be having too, right? So being aware that it's not really your job to save anyone, really, really big lesson. So just enjoy that, have fun, and spend time with people that feel good to you. Spend time with people that are vibrating high. Spend time with people that might not always have the most popular look or the most alluring expression or the most poppin' Instagram photos, but just remember, these people are probably your soul family. Something feels really good to you, you feel like you're growing, you're learning. Great, you know what I mean? I feel like a really big part of all of this as well is not going based on what everybody else is saying constantly. For those of you who notice when you hear things or when people are saying things to you, you can kind of hear deeper into it. This is usually referred to as clairaudience. So this is for people who just seem to know when other people are fucking lying. People who can hear spirits or will hear it out loud outside of their body. People who can sometimes hear other people's thoughts. Clairaudience. So this is kind of a stronger way of knowing if somebody is talking about another person in a way that feels really positive to you and you genuinely feel that ring is positive. Yeah, that might be someone you want to spend time with. If you hear it and it's just not hitting you in that way, valid too, another sign. So really just paying attention to all of these things, paying attention to what's going on with you reactively is going to be super duper important. I feel like it's also just really important to remember these things do not happen overnight. I've been in the artistic community of New York City for probably maybe 6 years now. I'm 21. I started going out to poetry events when I was 15. And I can say now is when I finally find people that are in super healthy alignment with me. In every stage of my life, I was with people that I needed to be with. I was with people that taught me and romanced me and showed me new things, and the same was done for them, and it was just beautiful. And there are always people that are going to be carried on from the next thing, right? I'm a Sagittarius and I have a lot of mutable signs in my chart. So I'm always moving, always on the move, always meeting new people. I have Aries in the 11th house too. So it's my shit never gonna be stable. I'm okay with that. But just for me, acknowledging that there's always a different time and place for you to interact with certain people is really important. Kind of just moving with the flow of how all of that works. Moving with where the energy takes you and just paying attention to your intuition when it's telling you, okay, this is not the best place for you to be right now. Something I used to do a lot was always second guessing and asking mad questions. When I first started to talk to my guides, oh my God, I knew I was an annoying ass bitch. Every 10 minutes, is this good for, is this? Yo, bro, sometimes I would just ask shit and I would feel them get tight at me. If you ask me that shit one more time, little bitch, just that type of shit. So most of us have friendly guides, but take the fucking answer. Take the fucking answer, lest they get annoyed and are just gonna change the answer up so you could do that shit. And you'll be like, but didn't you just... No, bitch, we told you 10 different things before that. We told you the same thing 10 times before that. So kind of just paying attention to what you're given, even if you don't like the answer, and just be surprised. Let yourself be surprised, right? So you might have noticed that this finding your tribe thing is mostly about listening to your spirits and yourself first. And that's mostly because you can't really deeply interact with anyone until you deeply interact with yourself. A lot of the time we can go into these situations, into these mixes with people, and if you don't really have a strong sense of self, or not even just that, but the interest in knowing yourself that well, it can be very easy for you to be kind of caught up in the mix. For those of us who are mutable signs, or those of us who are air signs as well, it can be a lot easier to kind of just be swept up in whatever the fuck is happening. For those of us who are sensitive and absorb energy quickly, that can be very hazardous and potentially dangerous. So just knowing what you're getting yourself into, spending time by yourself, And really just listening to yourself will help you listen to others and build the friendships you've been wanting. So yeah, day with me. If you guys want to book a personal reading, my website is I don't even know where the fuck to point. But go on this and it's my website, flowfrequency.com, frequency with an I. Toodles.